I think it's still setting up on Facebook, but we are coming on right now. It just takes a couple minutes to, there we go. I think that we're live.
Yes.
So sometimes Facebook is going to malfunction a little bit, but I believe that, there we are. Hi, everybody. This is Patty Gatter, the owner of the Breastfeeding Shop. And I am here today with Joanna Kryling. I said that correctly, right? She is an international board certified lactation consultant, and she's also a nurse practitioner. So quite a bunch of letters after your name, but thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Joanna's with Nest Collaborative, and the past 3 days we've been doing at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, different little about 15 minutes Facebook Live sessions about lactation consulting. I know everybody's stuck at home. This is kind of a crazy time. So I thought, how can the Breastfeeding Shop help? So Nest Collaborative and the Breastfeeding Shop joined forces. Today's topic is self-care and breastfeeding. There's a lot that goes into that and falls underneath that category, but I do believe it's a really important one, and it means a lot of different things. So why don't you take over and kind of start wherever you feel is kind of the biggest topic that you guys primarily deal with.
The things that we will frequently see is, some very typical things. It's normal to be a little emotional after having a baby, and it's normal to be a little weepy at times after having a baby. But kind of, where does it go? Where does it stop being normal, and when does it start being a concern? If you're having trouble doing things that you typically like to do, or you're having feelings like you don't want to be around your baby, or you don't want to touch your baby or nurse your baby or anything like that. Obviously, thoughts about harming yourself or baby, but that's kind of the end. That's kind of the extreme. Sometimes it's just not really wanting to do anything, or not really caring what is how the baby is fed or cared for in a way. But
I remember after I had it wasn't my first son, but it was my second son, I would just walk around crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was thinking, why am I just crying? I don't know that I was 100% sad all the time, but there were definite moments that I would just walk around having this uncontrollable crying. So it went away, thankfully, eventually.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Well, and there's definitely that baby blues that's a differentiation. But I always, talk about postpartum depression and anxiety, because it's actually the leading complication after childbirth, even more than infection or other possible outcomes. So just to give light to that. But the big things that we see more often is as moms, it's a combination of not getting enough sleep
Yes.
and not feeding ourselves. So we always ask moms, when is the last time you ate? Because a lot of times it's like, well, I had a granola bar 8 hours ago. That's not enough for you. That's not enough for your baby. If you're, supporting yourself for this healing process after having a baby, and you're feeding someone else and you're tired, you need to be making sure that you have that nutrition. So that's something that your support person can help with. I always suggest things like hard-boiled eggs, cheese sticks, turkey wraps, like even peanut butter.
Things that are easy.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
One-handed is great, because if you're nursing, like I always say, don't do like soup, because you don't want to drop soup on the baby. But things that have protein bars, granola bars, that kind of thing, and drinking to thirst. But trying to rest if you can rest, letting go and letting other people do things for you, even if it's not the way that you would like to have them done, is also important.
That is difficult, because not only does your partner have to kind of understand that as well, but you have to tell yourself that, because I'm a mom. I have a 10-year-old and a 13-year-old, and I still struggle from wanting to be a super mom. And it was really bad when my babies were little, because I felt like I can't do everything. I can't make everybody happy. I just, it's not that I couldn't, I just felt like I couldn't. And it just, that education on to yourself and to whoever's helping you is really important.
Yes. So, thinking about what things can make your life easier. I have 4 children, and for the first 2 months,
I have 2. I'm sorry that I was feeling bad for myself.
No. It is hard no matter how many you have.
It is.
For the first 2 months after this one was born, we ate off of paper plates, and that is okay. It is okay to make those kinds of changes in your life because it is very temporary. And you need to just find what things, if people can send you meals, or if I know we're on social isolation, so it makes it harder, but what ways can you minimize your stress or kind of change your expectations temporarily so that you're
especially right now. Yes. This is a crazy time, and having a new baby and just kind of being, you're at home a lot anyway, but what are some things that somebody can do, just kind of being sensitive to what's going on in the media right now? Is maybe not watch it all the time. That's a number one thing. But
I think that's important. I actually put a setting on my Facebook, so I only look at it for 15 minutes a day because it makes me anxious to.
Somebody can do just kind of being sensitive. That's I'm looking at the Facebook and it started talking. So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but just limiting, being mindful of those things that are making you feel overwhelmed or anxious or whatever you're weepy or whatever you're feeling, because like I said, I do 15 minutes of Facebook only because otherwise it starts getting to me. And what are you watching? What are you reading? What are you listening to? Should you be listening to something really upbeat right now? Should you be watching things that are super light and fluffy? Maybe that is a better option than like true crime or something that is might make you feel more anxious in this kind of scary time that we're experiencing.
And stress definitely has an impact on milk production for sure.
It can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if you're feeling stressed, things obviously doing the 3 to 5 deep breaths, but focusing on body, rolling your shoulders back. If you're really stressed, it can be hard to let down. So I know it sounds cheesy, but like picturing that the rushing water or the, something like water letting go, they have studies on that, that it helps with milk let down. So, doing those relaxation things, self-care doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be getting your nails done, because clearly we can't do that right now. Taking a bath with your baby, going for a walk, wearing your baby.
Just to not talk about the stress, can you continue talking about the stress part of it, but just for moms that are preparing for childbirth, what does letdown feel like? Because that's a very important thing. It's very distinct. For me, it was very distinct.
Yes.
But can you explain that a little bit?
So letdown, not everybody feels let down. I always tell women it can be normal not to feel your letdown. Some women have very strong letdown and some women don't. It can feel like warmth or kind of like a tingling or pins and needles. And I noticed personally, mine got stronger with each kiddo I had. With my first one, totally not aware of what was happening. It definitely more with each one. So letdown is when you go from initially when the baby latches and is sucking quickly. That's that stimulation phase. Okay, that's to initiate that letdown. And then when your milk is let down, your baby will switch their sucking, and it will be long, deep, slow. That's the nutritive suck, and you will hear the swallowing, which is like a soft K sound. It's like, so that's kind of how you know that you have letdown, and that's why the pumps now have like the different cycles and the letdown buttons and everything, because it's to simulate our bodies.
A good pump will always have a way to do that, or a feature to either separate from the suction, or sometimes you can manipulate that. But that's
right, because you can have multiple letdowns. Some women have more than one letdown while they're nursing their baby. Mm-hmm. So you could be on the left side and have several.
We have a question. What can I do to up my supply, my milk supply?
Oh, that's a good question. The number one way to increase your milk supply is milk removal. Because of how our brain and body work, the brain is stimulated by the hormones that are released when your breast is completely empty. So frequent, complete emptying. If you're pumping, say you're pumping, then using massage on your breast. Where's my faux breast? I have it somewhere. But
visuals are always good.
I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes my kids run off with it.
Yeah.
But doing massage or breast compressions while you're pumping, really trying to massage, because the more of that you get out, the more you're stimulating your supply. There are, other things like galactagogues, herbal supplements. Typically we talk to moms about it because there are some contraindications, like what is the right one for them. So that would be a good reason to talk to an IBCLC. And another thing, obviously you probably have noticed this too with your work, making sure your pump is fitting correctly, because an incorrect fit will also make it look like maybe you don't have that much milk when really it's just not removing it correctly.
And there's certain guidelines. Like when you first start pumping or feeding your baby, you're not going to get a full bottle full. It's very, very, it's like a thimble size.
And I get really worked up about these pictures that go around on Facebook and the internet, that it's like somebody's freezer full of milk and it's like bags and bags and bags lined up. That is oversupply. That is not normal. That's not normal. We don't normally produce that much milk. So there is that. So make sure that your expectations for how much milk you are pumping or making are actually accurate.
So my last baby was in the NICU, and I got used to drinking it and got used to drinking from a bottle, and was impatient and wouldn't latch a lot of the times. If I have the same issue with this baby, are there any ways to combat that issue?
Yes. So there are lots of issues, and if they're in the NICU, you might be a little bit restrained by what they will allow. But we always say early skin to skin. So before they're ready to eat, not when they're like super hungry, and babies don't like to learn how to breastfeed when they're super hungry. That's just a general rule. But getting them skin to skin, sometimes using a nipple shield to trick them, because they get used to that plasticky sensation. Babies learn to breastfeed by breastfeeding. So limiting, if possible, the use of bottles and pacifiers and, anything like that, because there are alternative ways to feed. There's spoon feeding, cup feeding, syringe feeding at the breast. There's, all different things that you can do to minimize that. And if you are bottle feeding, watching videos, talking to a lactation consultant, how do you pace bottle feed? How do you feed them so slowly it mimics breastfeeding? They don't get used to that fast flow of, that easy aspect of the bottle.
So if the baby's in the NICU and then come in and ready to breastfeed, because a lot of them can't when they're so tiny and in the NICU, and then they're transitioning them, what would be the recommendation to transition them to the breast? Just all the stuff that you just.
Yeah, well, and again, it kind of depends on how they're discharged and when they're discharged. I mean, some babies are discharged and they're 5 pounds and they're this many weeks and so on and so forth. But a lot of moms, we work on positioning, because a lot of times when they're discharged from the NICU, although they may have seen lactation consultants in the hospital or nurses, they may have gotten 500 instructions, and the moms are completely overwhelmed. And they get home, they're in a different place and different equipment to breastfeed with. So that's why I love the telehealth. We are literally like in your own home environment, and we don't touch the moms. We teach the moms how to look and assess and latch and do all of those things by themselves, because we're not going to be there all day, every day.
That's a great point. So, that's why telehealth, and the last thing you want to do is you can have a lactation visit over the video, something like this, and you don't really want to leave your house, especially now. So a company like Nest Collaborative, you guys are like right, it's very timely, it's perfect. And the part is that it's covered through most insurances too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's great.
Yeah, so definitely working on positioning, making sure when you're in the NICU that you're doing that pumping, keeping your supply up, and patience. Oh my goodness, these little people, born early, this is what they're used to. It can take some time, but you can be successful. Many women do this. It's just time, patience, proper.
Don't throw in the towel if your baby's been in the NICU and you're going home. There's definitely, you've seen a lot of success with.
There is help. Yes.
Good. Great. Well, that's amazing. So I really appreciate these videos. My goal is to always make them 15 minutes, but they keep going over. But long story short, I appreciate Nest Collaborative's efforts and everything that they're doing. The Breastfeeding Shop is really excited to be working with them and being a resource and just being here to help. So, if anybody has any questions, please reach out to the Breastfeeding Shop, or Nest Collaborative has a Facebook page and also a website as well. And you ladies are amazing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Just a quick, I know this is all I'm just going to kind of start doing some more videos next week, but we're going to talk a lot about breast milk storage bags and all of those things. So everybody stay tuned. Yeah, a hot topic. So anyway, thank you again. Have a great weekend, and we'll be in touch.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.
All right.
Bye.